I keep looking at these damn Trump press interviews, and they keep seemingly to to get words more and more like ridiculous and silly as everything seems to be going on further and further. I don't know, dude. Wackiest timeline is what we're living in right now. But what? Full interview on NBC News with Donald Trump says he'll be a two-term president. Downplays third-term talk. I'll be the judge of that, I'll be honest. All right. What do you got for me, buddy? What do you got for me?
The press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here to mark your first 100 days in office. It has been an incredibly busy 100 days. You've signed more than 140 executive orders. You've been focused on the border, the economy, foreign policy. What is your biggest goal in the next 100 days?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of results. We've already seen them on the border. We have the best border in the history of our country. It was 99.999, and nobody ever thought that was possible. In fact, Biden, if you remember, said he has to get legislation. And I said, no, you just need a new president. And I guess I was right. We have the best border we've ever had. We're doing great on...
Yeah, dude. By threatening to, like, black bag and deport anyone you don't like, you, too, can also have a very, very good border. I love how he always says it's a good border. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? I don't know, our border, it's just so good. It's the best. It's the cleanest. It's the greatest. It's the excellentest, most excellent of borders. It's so good, folks. You'll love our border. It's so good. It's whatever.
Illegal immigration. We are being hit hard by judges that I think they're trying to take away the power of the presidency. I was elected in a massive landslide in a big vote. We won the swing states. We won the pop.
Okay, like, they're not trying to take away your power. They're trying to basically enforce the rule of law. Again, like, you know, for all this, like, bluster and talk about how Republicans are the supposed, like, party of law and order, they sort of love to constantly shirk law and order whenever is most convenient for them.
Popular vote. We won the district votes by tremendous numbers. We won everything. And
I'm so good at winning
one of the
votes,
primary reasons I was elected was to get people out of our country that were allowed. We have prisoners, we have murderers, we have terrorists in our country, we have people from mental institutions.
And he
that
still
are
doesn't understand
insane.
what claiming
they
asylum
all came in through
is.
Biden's open border policy, and I was elected to get them out and to seal the border, but to get them out. And we'll have judges, they're activist judges. They're saying, well, you know, you don't have the right to take out murderers and people that you don't even want to talk about. These are really some really bad criminals.
No, that's not true. They said that you have to give them due process, which is correct. Like, that's their position. The position of all the judges is just like, yeah, like, if they have to be deported is a different question, okay? What we're basically saying is that you have to give them, well, constitutional rights that they have under the 5th and 6th Amendments. That is what they are saying. But Trump doesn't want to do that because he doesn't care about the Constitution. Republicans don't care about the Constitution.
Criminal people, and they're here illegally. So, you know, they talk about your next question will be due process, but they talk about due process, but do you get due process when you're here illegally?
We're going to talk about all of that. We are going to...
Not all of them are here illegally. I mean, that's just a lie. A bunch of them came in on, like, differing, like TPS and stuff like that. That's not illegal. That's a legal process. They claimed asylum. That is something that is available for everyone internationally. You know, for the so-called, you know, followers and purveyors of the liberal national order or international liberal order. Trump is very uninterested in following that order. Well, you know, fascist bullshit as always.
Going to talk about deportation, but I want to start on the economy, sir, which obviously the biggest issue for voters. We got new numbers today, better than expected job numbers.
Much better.
At the same time, the economy shrank in the first quarter. You've been arguing all week that this is President Biden's
degrowth.
economy. Is this now your economy, sir?
Well, I think certain aspects of it are. Costs are. I was able to get down the costs, but even that, it takes a while to get them down, but we got them down good. We lost $5 to $6 billion a day with Biden. $5 to $6 billion. And I've got that down to a great number right now in a record time. You know, we're talking about 100 days. But just think of what that is. $5 billion a day we're losing on trade. And we were very tough with China, as you know.
Again, he still doesn't understand what a fucking trade deficit is. I feel like Trump will never understand what the hell a trade deficit is. I feel like it's just going to be one of those things that him and his, like, sycophant, like, voters are just, like, they're never going to get it. Like, ever. We
put 145% tariff on. Nobody's ever heard of such a thing. And we've essentially cut off trade relationships by putting that much of a tariff on, and that's okay. We've gone cold turkey. That means that we're not losing. You know, we lost $1 trillion to China. $1 trillion. That means we're not losing $1 trillion.
I'll be honest, I still don't understand where exactly he's getting this, like, we lost $1 trillion to China. I still have no idea what the hell that means. I'm gonna be quite honest. I have no clue. Like, I really have no idea.
When we go cold turkey, because we're not doing business with them right now. And they want to make a deal. They want to make a deal very badly. We'll see how that all turns out, but it's got to be a fair deal. But think of it, we're losing $1 trillion. And that was a big part of the $5 million a day.
And I want to talk about China, but just staying on this idea of the economy.
And residents too. Yeah, that's true, Boy Meets Mini. A lot of the people that this motherfucker is deporting are citizens and residents of the United States. It's not all criminals. Like, that is a lie.
On the eve of your inauguration, the stock market spiked. You called it the Trump effect.
It spiked because I was elected president. Well, it spiked because of anybody else. It spiked because they see what I'm going to do. They know what I'm going to do with the tariffs and everything else. And
it's not because of your tariff policy, dude. It's because, broadly speaking, a lot of capital owners understand that more than likely with Trump, your presidency, they're probably going to get like tax cuts. They're going to get benefits materially. That's why the economy spiked under you. It's not because I'm so good at deal making and policy. I'm the best at it, actually. I'm so very good at it. No. That's nonsense. It's because like the bourgeoisie, they know that they're gonna get paid because of you being they're gonna get paid because of you being in power. That's why it spiked.
I think it's actually working out better than we anticipated. Did you see oil prices? Did you see gasoline is now below, in many cases, in many states, below $2 a gallon, $1.98, $1.99, $1.97?
Well,
yeah, and the reason why it's down is not because of anything that you did. If anything, like your belligerence is making it like stupider and worse. No, the reason why gas prices are down in the way that they are is because of your stupid tariffs causing a crash in, well, that segment of the economy. That's why gas prices are down. Not because of, like, your policy being good or anything. Quite the opposite, honestly. Your policy is dog shit. It's just, like, because of the crash, it's causing it to, well, shit the bed, effectively. Well, let's be quite frank here. So to say it's because, oh, my policies are the best, they're the greatest, they're so good, folks. Oh, those liberal namby-pambies, they're always gonna lie about, the policies that I'm implementing, but it's causing prices to go down. They're going down in spite of the fact that you're supposedly, allegedly, what you think is good policy. What you're accomplishing is good policy. Like, it's just silly to say otherwise.
My question, sir, is when the stock market spiked, you said this is the Trump effect. When the numbers weren't so good earlier this week, you said it's the Biden effect. Are you only taking ownership of the good numbers and not the bad numbers?
I think he did a lot of very bad things, and despite some of the bad things, we're overcoming them. But he was bad on the border. He was bad on the economy. We had the worst inflation in the history of our country.
Bad.
Look, Biden gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. People, it didn't matter what they made.
God, how many times do we have to like debunk this idiotic point on inflation? No, it's not because of Biden. I don't know, like how many times. I mean, he's lying. He doesn't care about the fact that he's lying. He knows he's probably lying, but his sycophants don't give a shit about that either. No, it's not because of Biden that was inflation bad. Inflation was bad because of COVID, and also because of a lot of corporate price gouging. Corporations saw that, oh, hey, we can get away with, like, you know, fleecing our customers with higher prices because of, hey, look at the pandemic. We can use the pandemic as like an excuse to, well, fleece people for their money. That's why. It's not because of like anything he did or whatever. That's just silly. It's nonsense.
Made because they were losing their shirt because of course. Now take a look at what happened. Oil is down, gasoline is down, groceries are down, eggs. You were the one that asked me. You asked me about eggs. It was the first week. I didn't even know anything about what we were talking about. Egg prices were so high, you couldn't buy eggs. They didn't have any eggs. And they said Easter is going to be a disaster. Well, we had Easter at the White House, and we had thousands of eggs, and they were down 87%.
Yeah, a lot of that, of course, the spike was because of bird flu.
There's bird flu.
When does it become the Trump economy?
Why do you say that?
Well, tell me,
we had the same bird flu as he had.
When does it become the Trump economy?
It partially is right now, and I really mean this. I think the good parts are the Trump economy, and the bad parts are the Biden economy, because he's done a terrible job. He did a terrible job on everything, from his auto pen, which I'm sure he knew nothing about.
There's still a massive egg shortage, yeah. And like I think you said, Boy Meets Mini, like, yeah, groceries are still expensive. Didn't you say like last time your groceries went up like by 20%? There's still an affordability crisis within within the economy, right? It's rather silly and ridiculous to just be like, oh, it's my economy, it's because of my great policies, because I'm so good at everything. No. It's because of it. It's in spite of that it's being more successful. Like, it's not because of anything you're doing in particular, Trump. Like, that's just silly to say. Yeah, there's groceries are still expensive and stuff like that. But yeah, isn't part of the reason that there isn't as much trucking of imported goods now that ports have slowed down? Well, yeah, as a result of the tariffs. Like, what? I think it's in LA, right? One of the biggest ports in the country, in the world, have started seeing a lot less traffic because of the fact that, well, the ridiculous thing that's happened of, hey, the tariffs. The tariffs. It's because of the tariffs. It's because of the tariffs. Why? There's like been a huge significant slowdown of all the costs. Why? Yeah, the fuel costs. There's a bunch of stuff, right? It's one of those things. It's always just going to be it's going to be constantly compounding, right? Fuel costs, jobs are going to get affected. The thing is that now we're starting to see these sort of byproducts and effects of these things, right? We are starting to see the sort of consequences of that. It more or less playing out. It hasn't fully hit yet, but it's gonna hit relatively soon. Like, I mean, even like Trump himself, he's like being very contradictory about all this stuff. So,
Some of the things he was supposedly signing to immigration. You look at what happened with immigration, how bad it was. Think of it. We have murderers. 11,888 murders, many of them murdered more than one person. Think of that. And they're in our country. Now, we've gotten a lot of them out, and we know who many of them are, and we're on the hunt. But why would anybody
We're going to find the murderers,
folks? Who could do
folks?
such a thing? Would it allow hundreds of thousands and even millions of people into our country who are criminals and murderers at the highest level? Who would do this?
But, sir, you acknowledge when you announced your tariffs for...
Yeah, there's no evidence that all the people that were let in on temporary protected status are all murderers. Like, pretty much most of them. Honestly, if not all of them, are people who, well, made asylum claims. Because you can do that. That's a part of international law. You can make a claim to asylum. You're allowed to do that. And then a court looks at that and judges if, this is like, if there is like a sort of like credible threat on your life as a result of this like asylum claim. It's what happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, right? He was an illegal immigrant, but he was allowed to stay. He was granted clemency because of the fact that the courts saw that, yeah, there is credible evidence to suggest that, hey, if we do let him back into El Salvador, there would be like potential danger to his life.
For example, the stock market dropped. It's been volatile. It has since gone up.
Is,
do you take responsibility for that? Yeah. Do you take responsibility when it drops?
Ultimately, I take responsibility for everything, but I've only just been here for a little more than 3 months. But the stock market, look at what's happened in the last short period of time. Didn't it have 9 or 10 days in a row or 11 days where it's gone up? And the tariffs have just started kicking in. And we're doing really well. Psychologically, I mean, the fake news was giving me such press on the tariffs. The tariffs are going to make us rich. We're going to be a very rich country.
So let's talk about the tariffs. And I want to ask you about something you said this week. Got a lot of attention. You were at your cabinet meeting. You said, quote, I'm going to quote what you said, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30.
Yeah.
And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. Are you saying that your tariffs will cause some prices to go up?
No, I think the tariffs are going to be great for us because it's going to make us rich.
But
you just can't admit it, dude. Fucking... When did Marie Antoinette die? To like what? At this point, like this interview was held yesterday. Yeah, welcome back, Monday, May 5th, 2025. Wonder what he means by we and us. Yeah, that's a good question, Boy Meets Minnie. Yeah, what does he mean by that? Because I guarantee you, this dumbass isn't buying fucking dolls and shit. And yeah, right, dude.
You said some dolls are going to cost more. Isn't that an acknowledgement that some prices will go up?
I don't think a beautiful baby girl that's 11 years old needs to have 30 dolls. I think they can have.
A baby girl is 11 years old? Okay, dude. Bro has literally no idea. His brain is fucking cooked, bro. Beautiful baby girls, because, they're 11 years old. They're babies still, basically, right, folks? We can agree with that, right? They're still babies. Okay, bro.
Have $3 or $4 because what we were doing with China was just unbelievable. We had a trade deficit of hundreds of billions of dollars with China.
Okay, I want everyone to like imagine for like literally 3 seconds if a Democrat came on to Meet the Press and said that you know what, Jack, maybe just maybe you don't need your like $15 trillion or whatever the hell. Do you know how many like stupid like culture vulture like right-wing like morons and idiots would make like the biggest fuss about that shit? They would go fucking ballistic over that shit, saying like, well, there ain't no way that Joe Brandon gonna get in my way of my G.I. Joe or my fucking Barbie doll or some shit. You would not hear the end of it from all the conservative punditry out there. You wouldn't. But, you know, if Trump can say that, then just get away with it. You know, whatever. Who cares? Doesn't mean anything.
You say they could have $3 instead of $30. Are you saying
Say they don't need the
Americans
$30.
could see empty
Yo,
store
let them eat
shelves?
cake,
No,
dude.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they don't need to have $30. They can have 3. They don't need to have 250 pencils. They can have 5.
But you're basically saying there could be some supply shortages
Basically saying
because
we
of the
don't have to
tariffs.
waste.
So here's the thing for as to why pencils are being mentioned here. The reason why pencils are being mentioned here is because, you know what? Because of a lot of the supply shortages due to the tariffs, because we know that supply shortages are happening. You're seeing a lot less commerce coming into a lot of different ports of entry, especially in like the western parts of the country, right? It's down by about 30%, which is going to affect the jobs of all the, the workers at the ports. But, you know, Trump doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. All those people are going to be affected as a result. Same with a lot of like local commerce. That stuff is also going to be affected as a result of this stuff. The reason why he's saying that is because stores are going to start cutting out a lot of non-essential stuff. You want to know what one of the more non-essential things is? School supplies. Because really the only time when school supplies really matter all that much is when it's back to school, which isn't about what? It's May now. So this school for a lot of kids are about to end, right? Relatively speaking, they're probably in like exam time or whatever. They're testing time and shit like that. And they're probably not going to need school supplies unless it's in about, let's say, 3 months. August in about 3 months, when back to school starts to happen. If Trump doesn't get his shit together in regards to the tariffs in like 3 months, there's going to be massive problems for him, politically speaking. And I guess that's sort of like the ultimate question here at this point. Will Trump be able to get his crap together in about like 3 months and try to work out some kind of deal with whoever the fuck has wronged me? Because, I don't know, like, I'm only doing this to sort out personal vendettas, even though I don't know what I have a personal vendetta about or whatever the hell. Bullshit nonsense he'll complain about. That's, like, the only reason why he's, doing any of this shit to begin with. It's not out of, like, some, like, principled policy position. He's mostly doing this out of spite, and I don't know. It's just, it's really silly, and it's, like, super, super ridiculous that we're just kind of, like, finding ourselves in this, like, whole situation. But, let them eat cake. Don't need, like, you don't need your non-essential supplies. You can live without your pencils. You can live without your Barbie dolls for a little bit. And also, another thing is, like, the reason why he's probably also mentioning dolls is because there has been different stores saying, like, we might have problems with supplies for Christmas. Because a bunch of companies, and this is part of the reason why the economy sort of seemingly was, like, getting better, a bunch of companies bought and imported in a ton of stuff because they knew the tariffs were coming. And they have about, a month and a half of inventory? Something like that. Obviously, this is not really going to be the case for a lot of smaller businesses. They're the ones who are going to get hit the worst out of stuff like that. But it's just, like, it's really, really silly, I'll be honest. It's just complete utter nonsense. Don't worry, Daho. His evangelical advisor promised him God would fix all of it tomorrow. That's true. Where is God? Where is Ja Rule? Has Ja Rule said anything about this yet?
Money on a trade deficit with China for things we don't need, for junk that we don't need.
Well, prices are already going up.
He
on
still
some
doesn't
popular items.
understand what a trade
Tires,
deficit
strollers.
This is such a dishonest interview already. Prices are down on groceries. Prices
Right.
are down for oil. Prices are down for all energy. Prices are down at tremendous numbers for gasoline. And let me tell you, when you have the big thing.
Yeah, again, that's just not the case at all. Again, we've already talked about like this sort of idea as to why it's because of your dumbass tariffs that the prices are going down, because they're just causing instability in the economy. That's why. And also, another part of the reason is, well, guess what? Your constant bombing of the Houthis. That's also not helping. Like, why? That's like another reason why oil prices are going down, because the Houthis keep getting constantly bombed. Like, it's just silly, dude.
Thing. What he did, he spent like a stupid person, which he was, but he spent like a very stupid person, and that was bad for inflation. But what really killed us
Him
with
calling
inflation was the
anyone
price of
stupid
energy.
is so
It went up to
funny.
$3.90, even $4, and in California, $5 and $6, right? Okay, I have it down to $1.98 in many states right now. When you go that much lower on energy, which is ahead of my prediction, because I really
Gasoline and energy are not the same thing. Whatever.
thought I could get it down into the 250s. We have it down at $1.98 in numerous places. But when you say costs are going up, even mortgage rates.
Okay, hold on. I'm curious. What is the oil barrel stocks? Oil barrel price. There's a specific stock, right? It's like, yeah, it's gone into the shitter. So this is when, like, Trump was starting to do his whole tariff fiasco. And then, zoop! Because, again, it made it such that it's way more difficult to be able to import stuff into the U.S. As we all know, if we're talking about which economy is one of the most consumerist markets on the planet, if not the most consumerist market on the planet, it is the U.S. market, right? They're the ones who tend to, well, consume the most products. And because of the tariffs on basically everybody, everyone still has those 10% tariffs on them, it caused the prices to drop, because now people have to pay more for, well, bringing in the gas. That's generally speaking why the fucking prices have collapsed. Let's be honest here.
Are going down.
Well,
You know,
let me
we
give you
have
some
mortgage rates.
examples. These are actual examples. So you're saying the prices are going down. Some prices are going up. Tires, strollers, some clothing in the wake of your
Excuse
tariffs.
me, that's peanuts compared to energy. Energy is 60% of the cost.
But sir, you
energy is the big.
campaigned on a promise to bring prices down on day
Well, I don't know. When
one.
you say strollers are going up, what kind of a thing? I'm saying that gasoline is going down. Gasoline is thousands of times more important than a stroller someplace.
But what do you say to Americans who say they voted for you because they want?
I mean, like, it's silly, man. This is totally someone who's very, very much so in touch with your average American. Like, what do you mean? Like, okay, like, what do you mean? You don't need, like, 5 strollers or whatever. The strollers are going down or they're going up. I don't understand, like, what's going on here. It's silly. It's not, like, gasoline's not the most important thing. What else is also important? Groceries. Groceries are not going down. Like, you said yourself, Boy Meets Minnie, your grocery bill has only gone up as a result of Trump's complete idiotic belligerence and nonsense. So, like, he's just lying and he's just coping. I'm on, like, to be honest, he's just coping about the fact that he just has no control because he has, like, no fundamental understanding of how the economy works.
And they need relief right now.
And they're getting it.
Right now? What about those
Even mortgage rates.
different items I just
Mortgage
mentioned?
rates are going down despite the fact that we have a stubborn Fed.
But you said even dolls could cost a couple bucks more.
Maybe they might, but you don't need to have, as I said, $35. You can have 2, 3, 4 and save a lot of money. We don't need to feed the beast.
I guess you're talking about this transition cost. How long should...
Again, I find it, like, this is the funniest part, right? Like, the fucking conservatives will talk about, like, Klaus Schwab, WEF, World Economic Forum 2023. They'll do, like, the Klaus Schwab posting all the time. And here is literally the president of the United States of America saying, like, you will eat the bugs. You will live in the pod. Right? It's just, like, it's silly. And, like, no one is, like, willing to, like, recognize that and just, like, are completely, like, oblivious to it. It's silly, dude. It's silly. Yeah, not to mention also, yeah, anti-Semitic, like, they'll also anti-Semitic Soros posts all the time. It's just, it's so perplexing to me, dude. It's just, it's one of those things that will just always remain just incredibly goofy and silly. Like, I will just, I will never understand with conservatives, man. I just won't. I won't. It's just the constant both sides out of the mouth, dude. Every single time. And, like, no one's, like, willing to recognize that, like, there's some bullshit going down, and that people are just being fleeced for basically nothing. It's silly.
People expect that transition to last, Mr. President.
I can't tell you that. I can tell you that we're making a lot of money. We're doing great. Again, we're losing more than $5 billion a day. $5 billion a day. You don't talk about that. And
like, where? Okay. Like, he came into power saying, like, he's gonna bring prices down. Like, we're gonna make the economy strong. So now they're losing $5 billion a day. Where? From what factors? Like I'm saying here, these are two incongruent positions. Like, where is he losing $5 billion a day now? What's going on here? It's strange. Complete, just utter hypocrisy. It's ridiculous, dude.
And right now, we're going to be at a point very soon where we're making money every day. Look,
how soon?
We were losing hundreds of billions of dollars with China. Now we're essentially not doing business with China. Therefore, we're saving hundreds of billions of dollars. Very simple.
You take me to my next.
That is not how that works. What the fuck are you talking about? What? How? Does he know how trade works at all? For the guy who pretends to know so much about trade and, like, trade deficits and stuff like that, he really has, like, just no clue about how, like, the basic tenets of trade work. Like, it's so silly, dude.
Next question, which is about China. They've been making a number of public statements.
Very positive statements the last 24 hours.
Well, and most recently, they said before talks could happen, the U.S. would need to remove unilateral tariffs. Would you consider dropping the tariffs to get China to the negotiating table?
No. First of all, you're giving me a statement that was said a week ago. You're not giving the statement that was said today.
I have May 2nd Chinese Commerce Ministry.
Do you know what they said today?
The U.S. wants to negotiate. It should show sincerity by preparing to take actions in correcting its mistakes and canceling the unilateral tariffs.
They made, first of all, they made numerous statements.
Yes, they've made numerous statements.
How many people speak for China? It's like 50
they've made numerous
I can
statements.
give you a statement for any occasion.
Yes.
But they said today they want to talk. Look, China, and I don't like this. I'm not happy about this. China's getting killed right now. They're getting absolutely destroyed. Their factories are closing. Their unemployment is going through the roof. I'm not looking to do that to China. Now, at the same time, I'm not looking to have China make hundreds of billions of dollars and build more ships and more army tanks and more airplanes.
So you're not, just to be very clear, you're not dropping the tariffs against China to get them to the negotiating table. Those tariffs are staying on.
Why would I do that?
Would you lower them?
At some point, I'm going to lower them because otherwise you could never do business with them.
Yeah.
And they want to do business.
Dude, he's just speaking out of both sides of his mouth. We want to do business with China, but we don't want to do business with China. But we want to do business with China, but we don't want to do business with China. Like, pick a lane, man. Like, what's going on here? It's just... Yeah, like, does he not want to do business with them? He wants to bring them to the table, but he's not going to take off the tariffs. It's incoherence. It's incoherence. Old man fucking rambling. Old man Yowie rambling. He just really wants Xi Jinping to give him a phone call. That's it. But Xi isn't giving him a phone call, and he's probably very upset about the fact that he can't have old man Yowie time with Top Xi or some shit.
Business very much. Look, their economy is really doing badly. Their economy is collapsing.
So small businesses say they are being hurt by the Chinese tariffs,
I
and
don't
some could be
believe
forced
them,
to
by
shut
the
And
way.
many businesses are being helped.
Are you
Look at the
considering
automobile
tariff relief for small businesses?
Why do you always mention that, you pick up a couple of little businesses? What about the car business? They're going to make a fortune because of the tariffs. Do you know that the union, the head of the union, who was no fan of mine, Sean Fain, I guess his name is, right? He didn't endorse me. The Teamsters did. A lot of people did. A lot of unions did. But he didn't. He couldn't stand me. Now he's saying, wow, what's Trump's done for the automobile? I can't believe it. I assume he's going to probably now say the next thing he can say is, I endorse this guy. He's the greatest I've ever seen. He can't believe it's happened. He said, we've been waiting 40 years for somebody to do what Trump is doing. So why don't you mention the big car?
God, I hate the fact that Sean Fain is, like, willing to give this, like, dumbass, like, any, like, breathing room whatsoever, because it's just so silly and stupid, dude. It's just the most ridiculous shit on the planet. But yeah, well, Sean Fain, I love this guy. He's so good. It's goofy, dude.
Car industry, instead of mentioning somebody that's doing strollers.
Well, I'm just asking about small businesses. Are there any discussions about giving any relief to small businesses?
They're not going to need it.
Okay.
Yeah, isolationism
They're going to make so
is
much money.
a brain disease.
If you build your product here. Remember, there are no tariffs if you build your product here. It's very easy. It's very simple.
Are these tariffs permanent, Mr.
Like I said before, like, the U.S. does not have either the labor force or the current industrial capacity in order to be able to sustain that. They don't have that. So doing the tariffs is stupid. But again, he doesn't get that. He just doesn't understand it.
President?
Depends on what you're talking about. One of the things that is going to bring and has brought. So I think we probably.
Doesn't he know? Does he not know that businesses have less capital to set up operations here? What if I were to tell you, Boy Meets Minnie? He probably has no clue about how any of this stuff works. Let's keep it $1.50, Boy Meets Minnie. I don't think he knows how this works, dude.
Probably have close to $9 trillion of investments coming into this country. If you look at other presidents, there's never been anything like that. This is over a period of 2 months. You got to give me a little break on the 1 month because we're 3 months. But let's say we had to get started. We had a lot of.
I don't understand. What does this like $9 trillion investment thing mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, investments to build factories, investments to build what exactly? What does this mean? Like, it's very, very silly. I don't know.
Fake news at the beginning, so we had to beat that down. But so let's say in 2 months. So in just a short period of time, a matter of a couple of months, we have the largest number ever in history invested in the United States and committed. We have between guaranteed, spoken for, and people that are going to make a decision and announce it pretty soon, close to $9 trillion. We've never had anything close. Now, that's Apple building $500 billion worth of plants. They always built their plants in China. Now they're building their plants over here. That's the biggest computer company, the biggest chip company in the world. The chip company from Taiwan, which is the biggest in the world, is committed for $500 billion. Another one's committed for $300 billion. We have companies, nobody's ever seen anything like it. Let me tell you the other thing, very importantly, automobile companies, plant after plant after plant, Toyota, Honda, Ford, General Motors, Stellantis. I mean, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And
I feel like he doesn't know any of those. Yeah, also a bunch of those companies aren't American. What? Toyota, Hyundai, stuff like that. Those are Japanese companies. But Stellantis, yeah, that's Italian. The only American company he mentioned was Ford. The rest of those are not American. I don't know. It's silly. The only reason, by the way, why those companies are probably doing that, GM is also American, but I believe Ford falls under GM, if I recall correctly. They're not. Or no. Does Ford fall under GM? I don't remember. I don't think so. I could be wrong on there. No. Okay, I was wrong there. But what? A bunch of those are, like, 2 of them are, like, what? Are 2 of those were American companies or something? It's silly. Also, some of them, like Toyota, already have plants here. They build cars that only stupid Americans buy. Yeah, that's true.
I don't like this, but it happens to be. They're stopping work in Mexico, and they're stopping work in Canada, and they're all moving here.
This is important, though. You're not taking the possibility that these tariffs could be permanent off the table. Some of them.
Oh, I wouldn't do that, because if somebody thought they were going to come off the table, why would they build in the United States?
Let me ask you
You
about,
understand that, right?
Yeah. That's why I'm asking, because there's.
Does he not understand what an incentive structure is? Does he not understand how incentives work? Like, it's just silly, man. Like, you want to incentivize people to build in America. Okay. So then you do the tariffs to try to incentivize people to build in America. But a lot of people aren't going to, like, want to build in America because of, well, the tariffs. Because it's going to be more difficult to import stuff. Which is why I've been constantly saying, if you want this policy to be successful, because tariffs aren't the problem. The problem is just only doing the tariffs by themselves. By only doing the tariffs by themselves, right? You basically try to incentivize. You're not going to, like, get people to come back to bring back manufacturing. You also need industrial policy to, help subsidize industrial capacity, to have incentivized companies to, well, yeah, like you're saying, to provide abatements for capital to build manufacturing in America. So the thing is like, if these were targeted to, like, a specific sort of, like, industry, which is what the CHIPS Act did, that would make sense. But these are universal tariffs. He just decided to tariff everything under the sun. Meaning, like, well, everything's just going to get more expensive, and people are not going to want to build in America. Like, why would they? It's just, it's silly. It is stupid. Which is why, whoa, the economy is starting to hit the shitter now, and, like, we have Trump doing his, like, best Marie Antoinette impression. It's just ridiculous.
There's a lot of, I think, uncertainty for CEOs, for business owners. They want to know,
See, I don't
are
think
these
there is
tariffs
uncertainty.
permanent?
I think there's only uncertainty in the fake news. I don't think there's uncertainty. I mean, I've been very rigid, very strong on it, but I will say I'm flexible. Like with respect to parts made outside of the country, I gave the automobile companies a little extra time. You're talking about 15% and then 10% of the parts put in a car. I gave them a little extra time without penalizing them. And I did that only to help, companies. We're looking to help companies. We want them to thrive and to hire a lot of people, and that's what's happening.
Let me ask you about some of what Wall Street has said. Some people on Wall Street have expressed concerns that the possibility of a recession is increasing. And I want to know what you think about that. Are you comfortable with the country potentially dipping into a recession for a period of time if you are able to achieve your long-term goals?
Well, you say some people on Wall Street say, well, I'd like to tell you something else. Some people on Wall Street say that we're going to have the greatest economy in history. Why don't you talk about them? Because some people on
I have a feeling that a lot of them are not saying that. I just call it a hunch. I'm calling it a hunch that not a lot of people have been saying this.
Wall Street say this is
well, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at, though. It's the same question.
Yeah, there are many people on Wall Street say this is going to be the greatest windfall ever happened.
And that's my question. The long term. Yeah. Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
This. Look, yeah, everything's okay. What we are, I said, this is a transition period. I think we're going to do fantastically. One of your colleagues on another fake news station, ABC, said, do you guarantee 100% that a certain person is going to do a fantastic job as, let's say, Secretary of Defense, okay? Because that was the question. I said, what kind of a question is that? Do I guarantee 100%? Nobody guarantees 100%. But I will say this.
I mean, it's just silly, dude. Yeah, yeah, but Biden's recession was bad, even though, the recession that happened under Biden was because of COVID and corporate price gouging, which caused an affordability crisis that you're not really looking to mend at all because you don't actually really care about mending that at all. It's just... it's all over the place, dude. Nothing is consistent. It's only good when if I do anything, that means it's good. If my other guy does anything, then that means it's bad automatically because that means I didn't do it. You understand? We understand what's going on here, right? He's trying to prime his cult fan base to basically accept worsening conditions because of his sheer incompetence, basically. Yeah, everything's gonna get worse because, I'm just doing complete random bullshit just like, anyone else would. That's pretty much about it.
I think we're going to have an economy the likes of which we've never had before. My 4 years were phenomenal, as you know, the stock market. In fact, even though we had to go through the COVID thing.
Because of Obama, not because of anything he did in particular, but okay.
That horrible situation with COVID, we did numbers, and when I gave it over, when I handed it over, the election was rigged, and because of that, we have a lot of problems, by the way. But when I handed it over, what happened? The market was higher than it was previous to COVID coming in. Yeah. Nobody could believe it. The stock market I'm talking about.
I don't want to look back, but you did take your case to court about that.
I find it really funny that the only fucking metric that Trump uses in order to gauge how good the economy is just the stock market. It's pretty telling, Very, very telling. Because there was affordability issues even under Biden. Now, Biden did try to, deal with and assess a lot of those problems through the Inflation Reduction Act, which obviously, and with, Build Back Better, which came in as, a complete decrepit version of itself because of, hey, well, thank you, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, you two stupid pieces of shit, but whatever. Nice meme as always. We know, what's, going on. The stock... oh, yeah, and of course the Republicans also getting in the way, obviously. So, to say it's just, everything's, going hunky-dory and peachy, even though, the affordability crisis is still, broadly speaking, going on and happening within the United States. Well, frankly, it's just a ridiculous assertion to make. The stock market, which hasn't recovered from its stupid tariffs. How is the stock market doing? I'm curious. Let's take a look at the S&P 500. Well, it's down. Previous 5 days, it's gone up. Let's take a look at the month. Gone up. 6 months, down. Interesting. What about the Dow Jones? Down. Up. Up this past month. But overall down. Okay. NASDAQ. down. It's gone up. It's gone up. But down overall. Again, this is when Trump came into power. Obviously, it spiked because, again, all of the investors in stocks assumed that they're probably going to get some kind of a tax break, some kind of a benefit. And then the tariffs happened, and there was a crash in the economy. And then he backed off. But it still hasn't recovered from the highs that it was during in January and February. Because obviously, this is where the tariff fiasco started happening. And the economy has gone down because Trump has been pushing for, like, ridiculous, idiotic, like, degrowth policies. So, well, you know.
Back.
You took your case to court about your allegations against the election. Let me ask you,
There's no question about it. The election was rigged. The facts are in. And
no, the election was not rigged. You had about 60 court cases, and they all failed, I think, except for one of them, because they granted you some procedural, based off of the grounds of some procedural thing, I think. I don't remember exactly what the procedural thing is, but he won. I don't know if one of the lawsuits is, like, correct to say. He was able to, like, get away with one of the lawsuits or some shit, to be honest. Otherwise, every other lawsuit he had in, like, Arizona and stuff, all were complete utter failures.
it's still being litigated. Let's go.
You did take your case to court more than 60 times and didn't win those cases.
I won a lot of
Just
court
to
cases.
button that up, though, sir. Just to button that up.
What are you talking about?
How
the election?
worried are you?
Are we talking about
No,
the election?
let's talk about here and now. Let's talk about
the
here and
election
now.
of 2020.
Let's talk about here and now. Are you worried about a recession?
No,
Okay.
no. I think we're going to have the greatest
I
economic.
mean, are you worried it could happen? Do you think it could happen?
Anything can happen, but I think we're going to have the greatest economy in the history of our country. I think we're going to have the greatest economic boom in history.
Let me ask you about this call to Amazon founder Jeff Bezos this week in response to a report that Amazon was going to display tariff costs next to product prices. Are you going to punish CEOs who increase their prices because of tariffs?
I think what is a great misnomer is the word tariff in many cases. It's not, to me, I don't view it as a tax. I view it as an incentive for people to come into the United States and build plants, factories.
Okay. So he's technically speaking, he's not wrong when he says this. However, like I've outlined earlier, if you just do the blanket universal tariffs without giving abatements or subsidies to companies to bring back manufacturing in the U.S., then all it is going to be effectively is a tax on the consumer. Simply put. It's just so silly, dude.
Offices, a lot of things. I think it's an incentive, but the thing that's not known is if you look back and see, oftentimes like China or Vietnam or other countries, not just China, because China's an abuser, but there are other abusers. Many of them are friends, the so-called, I say friend and foe, and friend is oftentimes worse than foe. But what people don't understand is, and this is a lot, the country eats the tariff, the company eats the tariff, and it's not passed along at all.
Well, some CEOs are saying they're going to have to pass it on. So how do you deal with those CEOs?
But the company,
how do you deal with those CEOs?
China is eating the tariffs right
What do you say to those CEOs who are saying we might have to pass this on to the consumer?
Well, they say that because maybe it's to their advantage to say it.
Will
Maybe
you punish them?
No, because you know what? I want them to build plants in the United States. That way they don't have any tariffs. See, tariffs will, and not only will, look at what's happened. In 2 months, we're close to $9 trillion of investment. We've never been anywhere near that.
What did you say to Jeff Bezos?
I don't understand where this, like, 9 trillion number of like, investment, like, really comes from. It confuses me. Abusers imagine saying that considering how much America depends on cheap labor overseas. It's, I don't know, like, the hypocrisy is not really lost on me, Boy Meets Minnie. I'll be quite honest.
He's just a very nice guy. We have a relationship. I asked him about it.
I love
said,
Jeff.
Well, I don't want to
He's
do
my
that. And he took it
favorite
off
guy.
immediately.
So he changed course. And will you take that same tactic with other CEOs if you
I'll
feel
always
like
call people if I disagree with them. If I think that somebody's doing something that's incorrect, wrong, or maybe hurtful to the country, I'll call. Absolutely. Wouldn't you want me to call? Biden wouldn't call because he didn't know what was happening, but I do.
Takes me to my next question. Today's strong jobs report likely means, not clear, but likely means the Fed is less likely to lower interest rates.
Well, he should lower them, and at some point he will. He'd rather not because he's not a fan of mine. Not, just as.
That's not the... Okay, first off, you appointed Jerome Powell, and the only reason why you want the Fed to lower interest rates is because you want all of your billionaire buddies to buy up U.S. Treasury bonds in order to gamble with them on the stock market to help shore up your stock market numbers. That's why. We just went through them, right? They're down overall. And they're down pretty significantly. 6% over the past 6 months. It's quite a bit. The Dow Jones, down 6%. The S&P 500, down 5%. They're all down, dude. So, like, to be like, well, I need to do something in order to shore up the markets. I need to make sure that I look good in terms of the economy for those who are really only important. Who gives a shit about my voters? I don't like them anyways. So, like, he's going to do anything possible in order to shore up these numbers, because there's only one constituency that overall matters to Trump and the Republicans, and that's, well, corporations and the wealthy. We know this.
Doesn't like me because I think he's a total stiff. And, it's just one of
But
those
you
things.
appointed
He should
him,
lower
man.
them. And I wish the people that are on that board would get him to lower, because we are at a perfect time. It's already late, but he should lower interest rates.
Do you rule out removing Fed Chair Jerome Powell
I'm not, I get to change him very quickly anyway. It's in a very short period of time.
in 2026? You're not going to remove, you don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not the case, right? I'm like pretty certain that he can't just willy-nilly change who the Fed chair is. I'm like very positive that this is not the case, that he can just do like, well, you know what? Maybe I just don't like Jerome Powell right now, so I'm just going to get rid of him. Because again, one of the reasons why, broadly speaking, the U.S. economy is seen as, well, safe and secure as it is because of the Fed being a institution that is separate from the U.S. government, which is why the sort of like understanding that the U.S. dollar is as stable and reliable as this, and with the U.S. economy, is because, well, it's not going to be impartial, or not like it's not because it's like it's going to be impartial to the state, but because like there's going to be like less state regulations that can potentially like get in the way of like potential capital investment. That's broadly speaking why the U.S. economy is seen as more secure than usual.
You don't have plans to remove him before 2026
No,
when his time's up?
that was a total.
And also, like, if the executive just has the ability to just kind of willy-nilly do whatever in order to screw with that relationship, that perception is going to be damaged.
I do that. I get to replace the person in another short period of time.
Okay. This week, you reshuffled your national security team.
Yeah.
You moved National Security Advisor Mike Waltz to UN ambassador. Just to remind our viewers, Waltz, of course, started that unsecure text chain where sensitive information was shared. Mr. President, was that move a punishment?
No, I just think he'll do a nice job in the new position. Marco's doing an outstanding job. No, Marco won't keep. Marco's very busy doing other things, so he's not going to keep it long term. We're going to put somebody else in. But I think Mike was, as you know, he's a fine guy, and I think he'll do a very good job. No,
doesn't Marco Rubio have like literally every single like national security sort of job now? He's like the main national security advisor now, or some shit as well. And he's also like got a bunch of other sort of like foreign policy duties. Also, like, Marco Rubio is one of the guys who wants like war with Iran. Hey, hey Trump, whatever happened to being like the anti-war candidate? Like, what's up? What's going on with that, by the way? We have like neocon, just complete charlatan hawk, Marco Rubio in power at the State Department, being the main dude calling the shots and stuff like that. Well, what happened to that? What happened? What happened to that, Trump? What's up?
the country's knows leadership, and I think he'll do a very good job at the United Nations. And in the meantime, Marco's really doing something special, and it's going to work out very well.
We're hearing some potential names. Stephen Miller's name, one of your longtime most loyal aides, his name has been talked about as a potential national security advisor. Is he someone you're looking
Well,
for?
I'd love to have Stephen there, but that would be a downgrade. Stephen is much higher in the totem pole than that, in my opinion.
Can you tell us who the frontrunner is right now?
Yeah, I can only imagine Stephen Miller being in charge of national security, how potentially disastrous that could be, but whatever.
People that want it. I will tell you, I have everybody calling. Everybody wants to be a part of this administration. So at some point, we'll, probably do that. There's a theory.
I
Henry
have a
Kissinger
doubt
did
for
both.
that for some
There's a theory
reason.
that you don't need two people, but I think I have some really great people that could do a good job.
So Secretary Rubio could continue to have both jobs
He
indefinitely?
could, yeah, he could. But I think he even would like to probably see, because it is a little bit different. But in the meantime, he'll handle it. And I think Mike, if that goes forward, he still has to get approved. But I think Mike will do a very good job at the United Nations.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, obviously also on that unsecure text chain, he was sharing sensitive information. Are you looking for a new Secretary of Defense, Mr.
No,
President?
not even a little bit. No, Pete's going to be great.
His job is safe right now?
We're doing a fantastic job against the Houthis. who like blowing ships up and watching them sink in the ocean. We're hitting him very hard. No, he's doing a very good job.
His job is safe right now?
Totally safe.
Okay, let's talk about the border.
Okay.
Let's talk about deportations. Border crossings.
I still don't understand what does Trump have on Pete Hegseth? I'm just that's like the only thing that I want to like understand more. Like, what do they have on that man? What do they have on him that he's like willing to keep him like so close? Is it just because of how sycophantic he is? Like, that's like really the only thing I can think of, to be honest.
Are at their lowest level ever recorded. Is the border
Is that good?
Is the border now secure?
Yeah, it's really secure.
It's
Isn't
absolutely
that good?
secure.
When you say that, doesn't that just sound good? After being abused for years by an incompetent president that allowed people to pour through
Someone
an
he
open
can
border,
puppet?
criminals from all
That's
over the
true,
world,
Boy, that's
murderers, and insane people from mental institutions and insane asylums. Isn't it a beautiful thing when you say it's the most secure it's ever been in the history of our country? Isn't that a nice statement?
Well, I'm curious to know what it means. You declared a national emergency on the southern border. The order is still in place,
By the way,
even
it
though
means
you're saying the
exactly
border
what you
is secure.
said. It means we have the most secure border we've ever had.
Well, and I guess the question
complicated.
becomes, when will you know that the emergency is over? Are you planning to lift it at some point? Is it necessary? Because obviously the military is involved. Will you lift that emergency?
Well, the biggest emergency is the courts aren't allowing us to take really.
We're going
bad
to talk
people
about
out.
that, but talk to me first
that's
about
to me
this.
the emergency.
Talk to me first about this.
The border now
emergency.
is not the emergency. The border is it's all part of the same thing, though. The big emergency right now is that we have thousands of people that we want to take out, and we have some judges that want everybody to go to
Some
court.
of them you appointed, sir,
That's
including
all right.
3
I
on the
mean,
Supreme
They
Court.
change. I mean, it's unbelievable.
This is actually incredible, man. He just has he just does not care about like doing what he's supposed to do to uphold the Constitution. Quite literally, you know, when you put your hand on the Bible to take the oath of office, the Constitution is like the first thing that gets mentioned. And guess what? Every person living in the United States has a right to due process. That is quite literally in the Constitution. But, you know, yeah, whatever. Nice meme. Louis the 16th used to surround himself with sycophantic dipshits. Nothing new, because for him it was either nobles who sucked his cock or nobles who backstabbed him. That's more or less just how like every sort of king's court honestly worked. Boy Meets Mini. It's all just like sycophantic nobles and stuff like that. Like it's just weird and silly. Like he's Mad King, dude. It's Mad King syndrome. What else can you say besides you got a Mad King in power?
Unbelievable how that happens, but they do change.
Just to button this up, though, are you planning to lift that emergency order anytime soon?
No,
now that the border's secure?
we have an
You say the
emergency. We have a
border's
massive emergency. Overall, it's an overall emergency on immigration, and if the courts don't allow us to take people out,
This is, by the way, the sort of classic fascist playbook to always be in a state of fear and panic and emergency at all times to, you know, make sure that people are constantly staying active and ready to enact, to be in power, to enact power over those they seem unworthy constantly at all times. This is classic fascism.
if we had to have a court case, think of it, every single person, we have millions of people. We're going to have millions of court cases. Figure 2 weeks a court case, it would be 300 years.
So let's talk about this, because obviously...
I wonder why that's the case, by the way, Donald. Why is that? It couldn't be possibly anything in particular that the party that you are associated with has done in order to defund those courts to make it way, way harder in order to be able to process all these cases. Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it? Doesn't it, people? Doesn't it make you think, folks, huh? Couldn't be possibly because of anything that, you know, the Republican Party has, broadly speaking, done in its, existence.
You've had a back and forth with the Supreme Court. In a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court directed your administration to facilitate the return, you've talked about this in the past, of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from a prison in El Salvador, whose deportation your administration called an administrative error. You said in a recent interview you could bring him back, but you won't. Are you defying the Supreme Court, sir?
No, I'm relying on the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, who's very capable, doing a great job, because I'm not involved in the legality or the illegality. I have lawyers to do that, and that's why I have a great DOJ. We have a great one. We had a very corrupt one before. Now we have a great one. And they're not viewing the decision the way you said it. They don't view it that way at all. They think it's a totally different decision.
Well, you say you have the power to bring him back, though. Your Attorney General says, quote, that's up to El Salvador. Just to put a fine point on this, do you have the power to bring Abrego Garcia back as the Supreme Court?
Well, I have the power to ask for him to come back if I'm instructed by the Attorney General that it's legal to do so. But the decision as to whether or not he should come back will be the head of El Salvador. He's a very capable man.
Well, you know, and your Attorney General has said it's...
Okay, that's just completely wrong, obviously. The Supreme Court has told him You have to facilitate. You yourself must facilitate what needs to be done in order to, bring him back. And he's just not doing everything that is possible in order to facilitate that. But, we, broadly speaking, we know why this is sort of the case. Because, well, in reality, Donald Trump doesn't care about, he doesn't want to bring him back. That's why. He should be brought back. Everything possible and must be done in good faith to bring him back. But the administration is unwilling to do it because, well, they're racist. Let's keep it $1.50. It's because they're racist and they want to see less brown people. That's what it is.
The issue is with that word facilitate. Will you seek clarification from the Supreme Court? Do you need to go back to the Supreme Court?
We may do that. I was asking about that. We may do that. There are some people that say, bring him back, put him in trial, and you get him out right away because you see what happened. Just this morning, tapes came out, horrible tapes from his wife. You don't get much worse than that. You don't get, he seems certainly like a very dangerous, very bad person, but even the wife who...
I still don't understand where this, strange conspiracy theory is coming from, saying that Kilmar Abrego Garcia is, a domestic abuser. I don't... that one kind of perplexes me. I don't really know where conservatives are getting this conspiracy from. That's a new one for me. I'll be quite honest. I do not see what is the evidence for this. It's meh. He's brown and isn't illegal. That means he probably beats his wife. Honestly, that's what I'm seeing is the logic. I'll be quite honest. It's silly.
Was so afraid. She was afraid to talk. And all of a sudden, tapes got released this morning that were devastating to him.
And this is the point, sir, about...
What tapes? What, okay, I'm just curious. What is the claim? Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Because this is, the new sort of excuse that they're running with. Because before, they had, basically nothing. And now he's, a domestic abuser. Domestic violence... It's great to see that that's the Reddit is the first thing that comes up. What is it? What we know about Kilmar Abrego Garcia and his MS-13 allegations. He was deported from the U.S. in March. Prominent legal showdown, okay. Evidence. Mr. Abrego Garcia has acknowledged entering the U.S. illegally in 2012, according to court documents. 2019, he was detained along with 3 other people in the car park of a Home Depot. Okay. Sure. Officers at Prince George County Police Department said the men were loitering. Okay. They said had a Chicago Bulls hat. Officers are claiming the clothing was indicative of Hispanic gang culture. Sure, man. And that wearing a Chicago Bulls... Really? Officers are saying that he's a... That's how they're... Okay, dude. Yeah, man. Because of them wearing a fucking Chicago Bulls hat. Silly. That's really dumb. Okay. So I guess that's where he's getting the fact that he's MS-13 is from. Yeah, there's the stupid, superimposed image of the MS-13 on Kilmar Abrego's whatever the heck. Stupid. Where's the stuff about domestic abuse? Argued in court filings of Western cliques, according to lawyers. Yeah, he definitely believes that image still. There's no way. Where's the domestic abuse? There's nothing in the BBC article about domestic abuse. I don't believe anything that comes from the DHS. Where is it? What's on City News? Nothing. Nothing about domestic abuse. USA Today. Audio. Kilmar Abrego Garcia's wife asked judge for protection from domestic abuse. Audio recording from August 2020 court hearing. So we finally got something. Abrego Garcia grabbed me from my hair, and then he slapped me. Okay. For weeks, the White House and Homeland Security officials have defended deporting the 29-year-old Maryland father to a Salvadoran prison after acknowledging the court that it was done in error and against an immigration court judge's order. Insists that he's a member of the MS-13 gang. There's no evidence of this, but a federal judge has questioned the strength of this. Recently, an audio clip of a civil court hearing related to the protection order I filed became public. I previously acknowledged the protection order and will again address a personal and painful part of mine and Kilmar's life. Neither of us were in a good place at that time, Vasquez Suras told USA Today. She added, my husband was traumatized from the time he spent in ICE detention. So that was in 2019 when he got detained by ICE for wearing a fucking Chicago Bulls hat and being alleged like, that means, you know, a Hispanic with a cap. That means gang affiliation. Stupid. Like many couples, we were caring for our children with barely enough to get by. All those factors contributed to the actions which caused me to seek the protective order. Judicial testimony describes alleged abuse. Still, it's alleged, okay? DHS officials distributed a restraining order petition from 2021. On April 30th, a 2020 petition to a Maryland court was released by DHS depicting more allegations of violence against Abrego Garcia. In August 2020, recording before Judge Ada Clark Edwards, Vasquez Sura described in detail how Abrego Garcia was detained and in ICE custody throughout her 2019 pregnancy, but returned home a changed person. So the fact that he was kept in ICE fucking traumatized him. That's funny. Once he came out, maybe like a month after he was out, he changed a lot with me and my kids. How would he yell at them? He yell at me for anything and any little thing. In 2021, Vasquez Sura filed a protection order a second time, citing instances of violence in 2019, 2020, and 2021. Abrego Garcia punched and scratched. Vasquez Sura ripped off her shirt and grabbed and bruised her. Police never charged Abrego Garcia with domestic violence. Well, yeah, because he had PTSD. He got PTSD from the fact that he was in ICE when he got detained randomly for loitering in a fucking Home Depot trying to look for a job because he was wearing a fucking hat. His crime? Wearing a hat. Crazy. Hispanic with a cap equals gang member, but Brahmin with a saffron flag can't be RSS. Nope. Nah, that's true, Boy Meets Mini. Abrego Garcia, a Maryland sheet metal worker, was pulled over by Immigration and Customs Enforcement while driving his 5-year-old son on March 12th. 3 days later, he was deported, and this is like the current thing. In 2019, an immigration judge ruled Abrego Garcia could not be deported to El Salvador because he had a well-grounded fear for future persecution. Right. So that's why he had, like, the protected status that he had, because, you know, people were just like, well, he might get, like, attacked by gangs and shit, so he can't just be sent back to El Salvador. His life might be in danger. There could be consequences to that. U.S. District Court judge ordered them to return him, has to facilitate his return, a popular cause, and then now we're currently sort of, like, to today. So, Kilmar Abrego Garcia ended up abusing his wife. That is true. However, the reason why is probably because he developed some form of PTSD because of the fact that he was detained by ICE. So we can see the common factor here. Oh, it was because of ICE. ICE detaining him was what made him do, well, the bad things that he ended up doing within, you know, to his wife in a domestic abuse situation. So that's the reasoning why. So Trump is being pretty dishonest here when he's talking about, like, oh, he's a domestic abuser, he hit his wife, he's not a good guy, he's a bad guy. Technically speaking, he's correct there when he's saying that. However, the part that he's leaving out is the fact that he probably developed some form of PTSD from the fact that he was sent to ICE detention. That's the part that Trump is leaving out, which is dishonest.
Due process. The Constitution says every person, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Why not push to have him come back, present all of that evidence in court, let a judge decide?
Well, I'll leave that to the lawyers, and I'll leave that to the Attorney General of the United States.
But you
because they're in
agree-
it. You have to understand, I'm dealing with Russia and Ukraine. I'm dealing
And we're
with
gonna talk
China.
about that.
I'm dealing with Iran. I'm dealing with Rwanda and the Congo who are fighting, and we're trying to get that one straightened out, and I think we have done that. Did a great job. Nobody even talks about it, but I think we're close to doing that. They're looking like they're going to maybe make a peace deal, which would be good. But I'm dealing with a lot of different things.
I'm dealing
I
with
don't know much
everything.
about this gentleman other than I hear he's an absolute not good person. And I have very capable legal people, John Sauer, as you know, and all top people. And I have to rely on that to interpret whatever's said by the Supreme Court. Now, with that being said, I have tremendous respect for the Supreme Court. Look, 3 of the people are people I appointed.
Right.
And I have great respect for the Supreme Court. And I would expect that the Attorney General will be doing the right thing.
Your Secretary of State says everyone who's here, citizens and non-citizens, deserve due process. Do you agree, Mr.
I
President?
don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Well, the Fifth Amendment says
Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to uphold the Constitution, which is literally like, you're the president. That's what you're supposed to do. You are supposed to uphold the Constitution. That's literally your job. Your job is to uphold the tenets of the Constitution. I mean, this is the part that I saw is making the fucking rounds on social media. It's just like, dude, you are the president. That is quite literally your job. That is what you're supposed to do, is uphold the tenets of the Constitution. That's literally the job, but okay.
I don't know. It might say that, but if you're talking about that, then we'd have to have 1 million or 2 million or 3 million trials.
Do we need to like literally look up the what is it? The oath of office, where you do the whole like praying on the Bible thing? Literally, you pray on the Bible, and they say you have to uphold the Constitution, and you say, "I swear that I will do that." And now you're saying that you don't have to uphold a part of the Constitution. I mean, that's literally your job. Why are you president then? It's ridiculous.
Have thousands of people that are some murderers and some drug dealers and some of the worst people on earth.
But
some of the worst, most dangerous people on earth. And I was elected to get them the hell out of here, and the courts are holding me from doing it.
but even given the
Yeah, because what you're doing is not your dutiful duty under the Constitution. That is why they're stopping you from doing that. Because you're not supposed to do that.
those numbers that you're talking about, don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as
I
president?
don't know. I have to respond by saying again, I have brilliant lawyers that work for me, and they
That's
are going
hilarious,
to obviously
dude.
follow what the Supreme Court said. What you said is not what I heard the Supreme Court said. They have a different interpretation.
Is anyone in your administration right now in contact with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia to the
I don't have to take any accountability or responsibilities for anything. I don't have to do shit.
No, you'd have to ask the Attorney General that question.
Okay. At least 2 Americans have been mistakenly detained and released by your administration immigration authorities. Mr. President, should lawful residents of this country start carrying paperwork with them when they leave their homes?
I don't think that'll be necessary, but what you're not saying is that many people have been killed, maimed, badly hurt by illegal immigrants that came over that are from prisons and from jails and from mental institutions, and they're hurting our people. And if we don't
Many
get them out, we're
people
not
have
gonna
been
have a country
badly
for long.
hurt.
We need honest.
Yeah.
We need honest media, and we need walls. We need to have borders. And by the way, I built a lot of walls, and if we didn't do that, we wouldn't be able to have those. You know, we would not.
I find it really funny that Trump constantly talks about like borders and walls, even though he's like literally the same dude who complained about like open borders that like for like millionaires and billionaires. It's like, which is it, buddy? Like, are you for open borders or are you not for open borders? Like you got to pick a lane, my dude.
Not be able to have the kind of numbers if I wasn't successful in building hundreds of miles of wall.
Very quickly, sir, the last time you and I spoke in
Nah, it's
December,
just silly,
you
dude.
said that you would consider working on getting Dreamers legal status. Dreamers, of course, those who were brought here illegally as children. Where are those
Many,
efforts?
I find it funny how this criminal claims everyone is a criminal. Like I said again, Alex, like, it's the standard fascist playbook. He has to constantly speak out of both sides of his mouth, and that's what he's doing here. Just talking out of both sides of his mouth.
Stand? Is that a priority for you?
Well, it's not a priority for the Democrats because every time we talk about it, they don't want to talk about it because I guess they like it as a political issue, but they're not good at political issues because they still want to have men playing women's sports.
Well, Republicans do control Congress right now, Mr. President.
the
Are you going
Democrats
to
don't-
make Dreamers a priority?
Well, you'd need for that, you would need to have support from Democrats, and we have no support from the Democrats.
Have you had
Dog, you have all 3 chambers of Congress and the Supreme Court. What are you talking about? What do you mean you need Democrats? What? Damn, all of a sudden Donald's bipartisan? Okay, man.
any discussions about treaties?
Yeah, we've had discussions. We would do something. I'd love to put in beautiful immigration for everybody, but the Democrats don't want to approve anything. All they want to do is knock out a tax bill. We're trying to get approved right now, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And if it doesn't get approved, it's a 68% tax increase, and that's what the Democrats want. They want a 68% tax increase. It's rather incredible.
And I do want to talk to you about your legislation, but let's talk about DOJ very quickly. DOJ has fired and then rehired thousands of federal workers, including FAA employees in charge of aviation safety, specialists working on nuclear weapon safety. What do you say to those who believe Elon Musk's chainsaw approach has jeopardized the safety and security of Americans?
Well, he found $160 billion worth of fraud, waste, and abuse. I mean, I think she's done an amazing job. I think his people have done an incredible job.
Yeah, that's just also a complete lie. There's like nothing to suggest at all that Elon has even found even $5 billion. Like, this number constantly seems to change. Like, he wanted to find $2 trillion, now it's $150 billion, now it's $160 billion. And all the experts are saying, like, yeah, he's maybe found maybe 5 billion. Otherwise, and there's others saying he's basically found none. It's just, it's ridiculous.
Job. They're brilliant people. They know the computer. I actually asked them, what's their big trait? He said they're unbelievable at computers. In other words, you can't fake them out because these people were, in many cases, crooks. But it was fraud, waste, and abuse. They found, your question should be asked a different way. Were certain things found? Yes. How much? $160 billion. Think of what $160 billion is. He found $160.
He said he'd find $2 trillion.
Well, we're not finished yet. Mm-hmm. We're not finished
yet. Do you think the work continues?
We're not finished yet.
Sure. He's leaving behind some very brilliant people. They were on television last night. They're super high IQ people. I like high IQ people.
Holy shit, dude. That's fucking hilarious. They're very smart. They're very, fucking big balls. The known dude with some of the highest IQ out there, people. Big balls.
The Democrats don't have many of them.
Let me ask you about some news.
Oh, that's funny, man.
You are threatening to rescind Harvard's tax-exempt status.
Yeah.
And yet directing the IRS to investigate and rescind
the fact that Doge had all the AI and big data tools and couldn't find more than $2 billion is telling. It's complete nonsense, dude. They haven't found shit. It's cope, it's conjecture, it's complete nonsense. They haven't found anything at all. And I'm supposed to believe Trump and saying oh, I found they found everything because they're expert with computer, they're so smart and excellent, and they're the best at doing this, folks.
University's tax-exempt status is contrary to what's in the federal law. The law says you can't do this. Do you think you're following the law?
Well, I tell you, I'm going to just follow what the lawyers say. They say that we're allowed to do that, and I'm all for it. But
I don't believe them for a second. Trump is the type of guy who will just fire you if you're not if you don't suck his fucking dick enough. So I don't believe him for even a fucking second of him saying oh, yeah, well, the lawyers told me this and that, and they told me computer is very good. I don't believe him for even a second. I think he's full of shit.
Everything I say is subject to the laws being 100% adhered to.
Are you willing to take this to court if it becomes a court fight?
I really do not
take
believe
it that
him.
far?
We've won a lot of cases.
All right, let's talk about some of the other actions you've taken over the past 100 days. Last month, you directed your Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to review 2 people who you perceive to be your political adversaries. And yet you told me in December that you would not direct the Justice Department to investigate your political foes. What changed?
Well, no, I just look at people, and I'm not directing anybody. They looked at these 2 people. They might have known it, or they might have heard it from 2 years ago. One person said, he knew me so well. He was, I think, on CNN or MSDNC, but they're both failing networks. You're happy to know, even though one of them, I guess, is related to you in one form or another, although they're trying to cut him loose as fast as possible. But it was well known that...
Is he talking about the 60 Minutes guy? Wasn't that because of you, dog? Okay, dude.
One person, it was almost like he was my brother. I don't even know who he is. Maybe he was there.
He talks like it's the Oblivion persuasion game. He talks certainly like something, dude.
Maybe he was in the Oval Office a few times as a surrogate for, somebody in some form of government, along with 25 other people that sat in the back of the room or stood in the back of the room. I have no idea who this guy is. And he's out there. And then he did a book called Anonymous. I think that's really subversion. I think it's spying. It's something really bad.
But you passed.
Wait, what the fuck is Trump talking about? What the hell does this mean? Anonymous Trump book. A warning, anonymous. Is this it? A warning by anonymous. Is it this? I have no idea what he's talking about. Book review. In a warning, anonymous author makes. The same official wrote the opinion essay in 2018. Is this from 2019? I have no idea what this claim is, I'll be honest.
Executive order calling for the Attorney General to investigate
that for a long time. And the other one said that the election was so wonderful. It was such a, well, it turned out it wasn't a wonderful election. It was a corrupt election.
Let me ask it this way, sir, because when we talked in December, I asked you, what is your message to people who didn't vote for you? Let me remind you of what you said. You said, I love you, and we're going to all work together. How does pursuing your political foes help to unify?
Did I really say I love you?
You really did. That's a direct quote.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right, but I'd like to see.
I promise I'll show it to you. I'll show you the tape.
Look.
How does that help to
I
unify
want to
the
treat
country?
people fairly, whether they voted for me or not. I want to have a unified country. It's very hard because the media is so fake, including, like, even the way you ask questions. Every question is asked in a negative vein. There's a toy company that took a toddler's, whatever. But you don't talk about the fact that gasoline is down at numbers that nobody believes possible. You know?
Yeah, because that doesn't matter, dude. Like, what do you mean? The reason why, like, we just talked about why gasoline is down. It's not, like, because of anything that you did in particular. It's because of your stupid belligerence. No, it's not. Oh, so he's lying about that as well. Oh, wow, how unsurprising. It's just stupid, dude. It's just not true. It's just exaggerations. Not in your area, Alex? Well, not in Alex's area. I guess Trump's lying about that. I can't believe that Trump would do that. Believes that Trump can actually totally do that.
You know why they're down, by the way? Drill, baby, drill. We're drilling like crazy right now.
We try to make sure every question is fair, Mr. President.
Look, every question you ask says a very negative slant.
No, but I'm just curious.
And I'm fine for responding to you. I don't think you're very difficult at all to respond to be honest with you. But you know what? You should ask some positive things like, sir, it's amazing what you've done with gasoline. Because you know what? Gasoline's big business. A stroller is not big business.
Yeah, but that's because you're just lying about it, bro. And you're just coping right now. Like, you're just lying. He's full of shit. And so people don't believe you. Like, what do you mean? But everyone's lying about me.
To this question, Mr. President, you said you wanted to unify the country. Does going after political foes undercut that goal?
No, not at all. No, we want honest people.
Okay.
I think you have to do that. We want honest people in this country.
Let me ask you big picture. People who have lived in countries like the Philippines, Hungary, Russia, they look at some of your actions going after civil service, going after universities, law firms, the media. They say it's out of an authoritarian playbook. What do you say to those who believe you are taking the country down an authoritarian path?
Well, there you go again. Why don't you ask it a different way? Many people wanted to come into our country. Many people love Trump. I won the election. They didn't win the election. I got a lot more votes than they did. I won the popular vote. I won all 7 swing states by a lot.
Why the fuck are you bringing up the election in this particular instance? It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's not about you winning the election or not. The question is about how you're inspiring others. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Yeah, like, I mean, the fascists must always be afraid of seeking approval at all costs. We know this, right? They have to be afraid and paranoid at all times.
A lot of people were surprised. I said, I think you could win 4, maybe 5. No, I won all 7, and I won by a lot. And I won, actually, I think there was a lot of hanky-panky going on, but it was too big to rig. That's the good news. It's too big to rig. But let me just say, so when you make these statements about, people say this, people,
God,
well, they had their chance at the election, and they lost big. So you should ask the question differently. You should say, what about the people that want to be in this country? What about the people that love this country?
But what do you...
I'm pretty sure by every single metric, literally everyone does not want to go to the U.S. Like, all the tourism numbers have gone into the shitter. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the case. Yeah, wham, grievance. I gotta cry and be like a little bitch and stuff. Wham. It's the same. It's the same shit all the fucking time. Oh yeah, tourism is crashing. Yeah, that's what I also said. Like, no one wants to be in the United States because, again, people are afraid that they're just gonna get, like, randomly fucking blackbagged, which has been happening. Countries have warnings for people traveling to the U.S. Yeah, I covered this clip before, but literally Canadian MPs have said, like, you should not go to the U.S. Justin Trudeau has even said, like, don't go to the U.S. Do not vacation there because of all the shit that's, like, going on. Like, you might just get, like, randomly deported. And people have been getting randomly deported. There's been how many stories of, like, people getting deported from the U.S.? Just getting randomly detained by ICE? This has been very, very commonplace. And yeah, like you said earlier, Alex, the gasoline price did something weird where it didn't go down in the winter months, December, January, and February. And now it's steadily going up for the summer months. Silly. I guess it's because, like, I'm trying to think, like, what would the reasoning be for why gasoline is not going down for the summer months? Right? Or steadily going up for summer. Are more people using their cars? That's like the only reason I can think of. Also, lots of Chinese tourists aren't coming anymore. Many go to New York, Vegas, and other prime destinations. Yeah, it's like, it's down with the Europeans. All of the maritime states, for example, you get a lot of Canadians going on vacation there. Or maritime states? That's not... Marine states. In the northeastern states. Like your Maines, your Vermonts, your Connecticut's and shit like that, New York. A lot of Canadians, for example, they're not going there anymore because, well, they don't want to deal with randomly getting deported. That's why.
You say, I'm asking it on behalf of those people to give you a chance to respond to them. What do you say to those people, sir?
Those people are going to be very happy. They're going to have to see some results. And I think we had a great 100 days. There are a lot of people that say it was unprecedented. It was an absolutely unprecedented 100 days. And I hope
the greatest
that they're
100
going to be
days
right.
ever, folks.
Do you see dissent as an essential part of democracy?
It's a part of democracy. It is. You're
Is it
always
an
gonna have
important
dissent.
part of democracy?
Yeah, you're always going to have, Kristen, you're always going to have dissent. There's nothing you're going to do about that. Am I going to get 100% unified? It would be a strange place. I can't even imagine it where 100%. Look, you have people that are good people.
Buddy, like, the reason why that question is being asked is because you do not like dissenters. You have a problem with dissenters. That's why that question is being asked, Trump. But okay. Yeah, here it's a yearly cycle. Gasoline prices drop in the winter and go up in the summer. However, it didn't go down this winter. Interesting. Huh. I guess it's like, it's a very, very sort of case-by-case, region-by-region sort of thing that you have to, like, look into, basically. If I were to, like, sort of make an assumption, broadly speaking, about that.
They're very smart people, and they honestly believe we should have open borders and the entire world should be allowed to pour into our country. I think it's a 95-5 issue, but they believe it. They're not even bad people. Some of them are bad. You have people that honestly believe that men should be allowed to play in women's sports. Some of these people, I don't know any.
Again, like, I don't know why we're bringing up, like, trans issues or something. It's just very strange. The typical, like, idiot culture war narratives, as always. Yeah, whatever.
I haven't been able to find any, but they exist. They say it's an 80-20 issue. I don't believe that. I think it's a 97-3 issue.
Do you think people should have the right to criticize you without fear of reprisal?
Absolutely, yeah, I do. That I do.
And how do you square that?
I don't fucking believe him for even 1 second. He's full of shit when he says that. Nah, that's cap, bro. That's cap. I don't believe him for 1 fucking second. I'm gonna be honest. I do not believe him. I don't believe him. Why are you deporting a bunch of people then who are peaceful protesters for the rights of Palestinians, for example? Why do you keep constantly threatening journalists and stuff like that? You keep trampling on First Amendment rights at all fucking times. I don't believe him for even 1 second here.
That happens.
How do you square that with the fact that you have passed these executive orders asking the Attorney General to look into some of the people who've criticized you, who've been harshest against you?
I have been investigated more than any person in the history of the United States of America. I've been investigated more than the late great, as I say in my rallies, Alphonse Capone. Alphonse Capone was a nasty man. He was the highest level gangster. And I have been investigated more than Al Capone, more than anybody. These people.
I'm the most persecuted man on the planet.
I'll tell you what, all I want
Everyone
is for the Department of Justice and
I'm
the
so
FBI.
sad.
Pam is great and Cash is great. I think they're two great people, but they're their own people. They want to do a fantastic job. And all I want to do and all I want to ask for is that they be allowed to do their job. I'm not telling them to do anything, and I believe I have the right to do it. I'm, in theory, the top law enforcement officer as the president. We went over this once before.
No, you are not. What is he talking about? What? That is incredible. You are not the top law enforcement officer because it should be fairly fucking obvious the potential problem with that. It should be extremely obvious what the issue might be there if he thinks himself to be completely above the law and the only person who is supposed to enforce the law. Nah, this is what it is. Here's the real fucking crime, stupid, idiotic bullshit. He wholeheartedly believes that he is completely and utterly above the law. It's actually insane, dude.
It turned out I was right, but I'm not looking to use that. We have two.
You are not right, my dude. It should be fairly obvious the conflict of interest at play here if you yourself think that you are the top law enforcement officer. Classic justification of autocracy here.
Great people, and we have many, many incredible people under them, and I just want them to do their job and do it well.
Let me ask you about something I don't think you've been asked much about, which is you've branded your own cryptocurrency The coin's value actually surged recently after you announced that top holders would be invited to have dinner.
I don't even know that. What did it surge to?
What did it surge to?
Yeah, what's it worth? You might as well tell me, because I have no idea.
Well, it surged.
I don't believe that for a second. There's no fucking way. He doesn't want to talk about it because he knows, like, I might get caught. This is kind of bad. This might make me look kind of bad, folks.
It surged. I will find it. Hold on 1 second. 5.2 or 58%. So 58%.
To what number?
That's not bad. 14.32.
What?
Dollars per cryptocurrency.
$1 billion?
No.
What's the number?
This guy constantly talks about the stock market. Like, she's talking about per share. That's how it works, you fucking idiot. This is incredible. He doesn't fucking understand it. Businessman, by the way. And he's like one of the most incompetent fucking motherfuckers on the planet. Jesus Christ. He doesn't get that, like... Yeah, like, that's actually a perfect comparison to Boy Meets Minnie. He's literally no different than the fucking Haley Welch, Hawk Tuah girl. Because this is how she also think. Because, like, when it comes to Hawk Tuah girl, the reason why... She just didn't know anything because she's what? She was a high school dropout. She just doesn't have the education. She just doesn't know, right? This guy is the president of the United States and was a businessman. He should know this stuff. She just thinks CoffeeZilla is scary. That's true. CoffeeZilla, he's a scary guy. I don't like that. I don't like that CoffeeZilla. I don't like that CoffeeZilla guy. He's kind of off. He's off-putting. I don't trust him, folks. He doesn't understand that it's like it's $14 a share. That's how it works. That's how the stock market works. Trump, you should know this. I thought you were a big economy guy. You had a great understanding of stocks and stuff. But he doesn't get it. That's incredible, man.
I mean, what is the amount?
The meme coin's value hit a peak of $75.35 on January 19th.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
And that's before your inauguration, and then it surged.
Look, I'm in favor of crypto.
Okay,
What do you mean that doesn't mean anything? What? That's literally how stocks work, Donald. Oh man, he doesn't even understand how stock pricing works. This is incredible, dude.
Let me just ask you, what do you say to those who argue that when they hear that, they worry you're profiting from the presidency?
I'm not profiting from anything. All I'm doing is, I started this long before the election.
Yeah, sure, man.
I think crypto
definitely
is
not
because
profiting
if we don't do it,
from
China's going
presidency.
to. And it's new. It's very popular. It's very hot. If you look at the market, when the market went down, that stayed much stronger than other aspects of the market. But I want crypto because a lot of people, millions of people want it. I don't know if you know that Biden went after it violently, and then before the election, he changed his tune entirely.
No, you're the one who changed your tune entirely on crypto. Because Trump initially thought that crypto was just complete, utter nonsense, complete bullshit, right? He was the one who initially thought that. Not Biden. What is he talking about? Biden wanted to put regulations on, well, cryptocurrencies because Biden noticed, like, hey, Jack, these guys might do some bad stuff. They can't be trusted. They're bad dudes, Jack. They're bad dudes. They ain't good. It's silly, dude. It's so goofy.
He's head of the SEC. Everybody changed their tune. You know why? Because there were hundreds of...
Yeah, and then, yeah, exactly. Like you just said, Boy Meets Minnie. Yeah, then Trump realized what crypto rug pulls are, and then he started supporting it. Yeah, because Trump understood that he can just fleece all of his... he realized he can just fleece his supporters for money. That's why.
Millions of people that are participating in crypto, and they wanted to get their votes.
So you're not profiting off of the cryptocurrency?
I haven't even looked.
Has your family?
I'll tell you what, look, if I own stock in something and I do a good job and the stock market goes up, I guess I'm profiting. But who really profits is somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who uses inside information. She worked for $175,000 a year, and that's at the high end, and she's worth $150, $200 million. Okay? You ought to look at Nancy Pelosi, and you ought to look at some of these politicians that are stone cold crooks. I was very wealthy when I came in. Being president, I probably cost me money if you really look. In fact, I do something that no other president has done. They think maybe George Washington has done. I contribute my entire salary.
Yeah, that is very rich coming from you, who is not willing to release his tax returns, not willing to put his businesses in a blind trust, used his name and position as president in order to get like a bunch of Saudi monarchs to spend money at his fucking hotels. while on state visits and stuff like that. That is incredibly rich coming from you, not using the presidency to profit. Okay, bro.
Salary to the government, back to the government.
So
And I'm
will you
doing it-
contribute anything you earn from crypto back to the government? If that
I
happens?
never thought of that. I mean, should I contribute all of my real estate that I've owned for many years if it goes up a little bit because I'm president and doing a good job? I don't think so.
Okay.
But I've done
Yeah, but you should put it in a blind trust so there's no conflict of interest. Oh wait, you violated that on your first term anyway. Okay, bro.
something that surprisingly they say nobody else has done, no other president has done. And it's a substantial salary. It's like $500,000 a year or $550,000 a year, 4 years, a couple of $1 million. I gave it to the government last time. I never got a story saying I gave it. Nobody cared if I gave it. I guarantee if I didn't give it, there'd be a big story. But no other president, they say, with the possible exception of George Washington, and they haven't been able to find those records. And we've had wealthy presidents before, but no other president has contributed the salary. And they told me before this that you will probably be asking me whether or not I'm going to contribute my salary again, but you haven't asked that.
Are you going to?
Yes.
You are. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, I appreciate we just made news there. Let's talk about foreign policy, sir. You just signed a minerals deal with Ukraine. It's a sign, it seems, that the United States is invested in Ukraine's future. The Secretary of State told me this is a very critical week. Are you any closer to reaching a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia?
I hope so.
How would you
I do
characterize
believe we're closer with one party.
Yeah, we took a look over that mineral deal. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's like a perfect deal. It's not terrible. It's not great, to be honest, because again, like, what's the main thing that's missing for the Ukrainians in particular? Well, like security guarantees. And that's like the main thing that they are looking to get the most, because again, if they were to get security guarantees, what does that mean? It means that the Russians are not going to, well, do any invasions and aren't going to attack to attack Ukraine anymore. But like the security guarantees are basically like, hey, are we like, because for whatever reason, like Trump thinks like if he just puts American companies with American workers to get the resources from Ukraine, that's going to be like good enough security guarantees when like maybe the question is are the Russians really going to give a shit about any of that stuff? My bet is probably not. I'm gonna keep it real. I don't think so.
And maybe not as close with the other, but we'll have to see. I'd like to not say which one we're closer to, but we did do a deal for the American people that was good. We were able to.
Yeah, we do have to just wait and see how it plays out. Like what potential security guarantees that the Ukrainians are going to get, or like what was offered for the more like what was offered to the Ukrainians, so they can get some kind of security guarantees from the U.S. Because otherwise, I don't think they would sign any deal. Like, why would they, right?
Get rare earth. The Europeans are getting paid back. They have a loan. We didn't. Biden just gave them $350 billion. He has no idea where the money is, what happened.
It's just a lie. Also, we know you can look through the congressional budget hearings in office to see exactly where all the money went. That's just a lie.
And at least we'll, in one form or another, get our. I don't feel so foolish. And remember this is Biden's war. This was a war that was never going to happen if I were president. This is a horrible, horrible war. And I get to see shots of...
Yeah, and yet you also brag about how you send javelins to the Ukrainians and other, material support to the Ukrainians. But it's Biden's war now all of a sudden? Okay, dude. Yeah, nice meme.
Soldiers through, satellite that are so terrible. 5,000 soldiers are being... Look, 5,000 soldiers a week on average are dying. They're not American soldiers, but I want to solve the problem. They're Russian soldiers and they're Ukrainian soldiers. And if I can save 5,000 souls, I just love doing it.
How long do you give both countries before you're going to walk away?
Well, there'll be a time when I will say, okay, keep going, keep being stupid.
When does that come? Are you close to it?
Sometimes I get close to it and then positive things happen, okay? So I hope it gets done.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He has no idea. I guarantee it. He doesn't fucking know.
Your close ally, Senator Lindsey Graham, has a sanctions bill against Russia. If you get to that point, Mr. President, where you're prepared to walk away, will you sign that sanctions bill?
Well, it depends on whether or not Russia is behaving toward coming to a peace. We want a peace deal. We want Russia and Ukraine to agree to a deal. Mm-hmm. We think we're fairly close, and we're going to save a lot of people from being killed. We save a lot of money, too, because we're spending money like... Europe is spending a third of the money that we're spending, and it's more important for Europe than it is for us. Biden had no control. He just sent money over there willy-nilly. Nobody had any idea what was happening, why they were doing it, why they were...
Again, you have the biggest military budget, you have the biggest economy, so you can afford to spend more money. This is so fucking stupid, dude. This is basic math, and for whatever reason, he doesn't get it. he expects the Europeans to pay more when the U.S. economy is bigger and stronger than every European economy put together. Yet he expects the Europeans to spend about as much on the U.S. as on defense. When the U.S., you just literally proposed $1 trillion defense budget, and let's not even get to how much this has been costing, like, the American taxpayer, like a couple cents every single month, barely like $2 a year. Like, it's not about the money for you. You just don't care about the Ukrainians. You have like some stupid LARPy dipshits who are anti-Ukraine and pro-Russia in your ear saying you need to stop supporting them because, you know, that's what our base wants. Simply put.
We're sending it, and it was massive amounts of money.
So you think you're close to a deal? What will Russia have to give up? Because Ukraine, there's been discussions they will have to give up some of the land.
Russia will have to give up all of Ukraine because that's what they want.
All of Ukraine, meaning they wouldn't keep any of the land that they've claimed?
Russia would have to give up all of Ukraine because what Russia wants is all of Ukraine. And if I didn't get involved, they would be fighting right now for all of Ukraine. Russia doesn't want the strip that they have now. Russia wants all of Ukraine. And if it weren't me, they would keep going. You know that the European Union leaders have asked me to...
Yeah, that's just not true. I think, like, the reason why is because you probably were going to get back into office. So that's why they decided to keep going, but whatever.
Call Putin so many times because he doesn't return their phone call.
You posted on social media he might be tapping you along.
Does he return your phone calls? Like, are you any special or different? It's just nonsense, dude.
But you might be tapping me along too when you tell me how nice an interview this is going to be. So, I'm used to being tapped along.
Did you in any way misread Vladimir Putin?
Wonder why you might be used to being tapped along.
Him, now that you're saying that.
I'll tell you about that in a month from now or 2 weeks from now. I have no idea. I can tell you this. His ambition was stopped to a large extent when he saw that it was me that was now leading the charge because he wasn't dealing with anybody in Europe. He wasn't calling back. Do you know that I asked him, I said, did Biden ever call you in 3 years? Did Biden ever call? He said he never called. You know, Biden didn't call him one time. And all these thousands of soldiers, hundreds, millions of soldiers are dying. And people, not only soldiers, people dying in the cities and the towns. And the whole heritage of that country is being blown apart. I mean, the country's heritage is being blown apart. You know the steeples, those beautiful spires that you see? You know the most beautiful in the world? Almost 95% of them are laying in smithereens, all broken up and so sad, laying all over the ground because they were...
The fuck is he talking about steeples? Is he talking about, like, the churches? What the fuck is a steeple? What are you talking about? Also, it hilariously massively benefits the military industrial complex that Trump loves. They get all this feedback on how U.S. weapons are being used against Russia. Like I said before, Alex, classic fascist playbook, constantly speaking out of both sides of his mouth. You know, he has to, like, pretend to be anti-war, but at the same time, he can't do that. Like, it's the both sides of the mouth fucking bullshit every single time. Like, he doesn't actually believe in anything. He doesn't believe in peace. He believes in nothing.
Shot. It's really a bad situation. And he didn't get one phone call from Biden. The war would have never started.
That's true.
And by the way, for 4 years, it didn't start. I was there for 4 years. It was the apple of his eye. This was the apple of Putin's eye. There was no chance he would have gone in.
What's the red line for you? At what point do you say, that's it, we're walking away?
Well, you'll know. I mean, there'll be a time when I may say that. And if I do...
not there.
Yeah, again, like, is he gonna say that? I don't think he'll ever specify. It could be, like, literally anything, dude. Which is why people probably are not really big fans of negotiating with you, because people, broadly speaking, see you as incredibly unreliable, Trump. Like, very, very unreliable.
There may be something I can't do. Maybe it's not possible to do. There's tremendous hatred, just so you understand. Kristen, we're talking tremendous hatred between these two men and between, you know, some of the soldiers, frankly, between the generals. They've been fighting hard for 3 years. I think we have a very good chance of doing it.
Very quickly, if you do walk away, would that mean that you would pull military and intelligence?
I don't want to say that now. It's too early to say that. I don't want to get into that argument.
Let's move on to Canada. You have long talked about making Canada the 51st state. There's obviously a new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, who you spoke to after his victory. He says that you didn't talk to him in that call about making Canada a 51st state.
No, he called me. He was very nice, and I congratulated him. He had a victory. It's a very close victory. It's you know, there's no majority or anything, so that's going to make things a little bit difficult, I think, for him to run. But
it was not that close of a victory, I'll be quite honest. Like, Liberals, won about 25 seats. I do think, like, the Liberals overall underperformed. I talked about this before in, like, our sort of election fallout sort of analysis. I do think that, like, the Conservatives sort of, like, not gotten, like, about 120 seats. Liberals certainly underperformed because of really bad electoral strategy that they had. But to say that it was close, it was not that close.
he nevertheless had a victory, and he's a very nice man, I think.
Do you plan to talk to him about making Canada a 51st
He wants to come and see me. He's going to come this week or next week.
So will you talk to him about making Canada a 51st state, annexing Canada?
I'll always talk about that. You know why? We
No, I didn't
subsidize
see his
Canada to the
analysis,
tune
no.
of $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. In fact, we don't want their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't even want their energy. We have more than they do. We don't want their lumber. We have great lumber. All I have to do is free it up from the environmental lunatics. We don't need anything.
It's the EPA. Yeah, the EPA has said that you can't go onto federal lands in order to cut down those trees because those are federal lands. Those are national parks, Trump. You can't do that. But, you know, it's all environmental lunatic. Yeah, I guess like Teddy Roosevelt or whatever the fuck. He's an environmental lunatic now.
Thing that they have. We're giving them. I asked Mr. Trudeau.
Oh,
Governor
I know
Trudeau.
about
I said,
J.J.
not
McCullough.
Prime Minister, Governor. I said, Governor Trudeau, could I ask you one question? Why are we giving you $200 billion? Why are we subsidizing Canada?
He still doesn't understand what a trade deficit is. He still doesn't get it. And also, by the way, there's videos about this explaining how, like, Trump is the reason why there was more of a trade deficit that existed between the Americans and, well, us. He's the reason because he tried to bully OPEC into lowering gas prices. In I think it was 2017 or 2018. He tried to do it, it failed, and as a result, like, gas prices actually went up. So, and as a result, a lot less gas and oil products were going to the U.S. because of his idiotic belligerence, and a bunch of trade from our oil fields had to be facilitated by us to the U.S. And as a result of the U.S. having to, import a bunch more oil from us, a trade deficit happened more.
If Canada was a state,
But I don't know, since
it wouldn't
I'm not
cost us. It
Canadian.
would be great. It would be
He's
such
a little
great,
weird.
it would be a cherished state. And if
J.J.
you look at
McCullough's
our
a
map,
little
if you look at the geography, I'm a real estate guy at heart. When I look down at that without that artificial line that was drawn with a ruler many years ago, it was just an artificial line, goes straight across. You don't even realize what a beautiful country it would be. It would be great. But
I find it so funny how, like, Trump will constantly talk about, like, borders and the sovereignty of borders and the importance of borders all the time, and then all of a sudden he'll do, like, the stupidest, like, idiotic interpretation of, it's really bad that those, it's really bad that these lines exist. It's a complete anti-colonial Trump over here. He's talking about anti-colonial praxis. 07 comrade Trump, land back Trump. Yeah, it's just so funny, dude.
I don't think the American public wants me to pay $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. Again, remember this.
Yeah.
It's
We
not
don't
what,
need their cars,
again,
we don't need their
it's
lumber,
not
we
what
don't
a
need their
trade
energy, we don't need
deficit is.
anything.
That's not how that works.
We do very little business with Canada. They do all of their business practically with us.
You and I-
They need us.
Yeah, that's just not true at all. You import all of, like, a ton of our natural resources. Everyone has said before, if we stopped, like, giving you guys lumber, guess what happens? Your construction sectors start to shit the bed immediately because you're not going to have our lumber. We start giving you oil. All those, like, gasoline prices that you loved bragging about, those are going instantaneously up. So, it's nonsense.
We don't need that.
You and I talked, and I asked you if you would rule out military force to take Greenland, and you said no, you don't rule out anything. Would you rule out military force to take Canada?
Well, I think we're not going to ever get to that point. It could happen.
Pax
Something could happen. With Greenland. I'll be
Americana.
honest. We need that for national and international security.
But not
I
with
think
Canada?
it's highly unlikely. I don't see it with Canada. I have to be honest with you.
Okay, but you don't rule it out for Greenland.
And by the way, Canada, they spend less money on military than practically any nation in the world. They pay NATO less than any nation. They think we're subsidized. They think we are going to protect them. And really, we are. But the truth is, they don't carry their full share, and it's unfair to the United States and our taxpayers.
But you are not ruling out military
I
force
mean,
to
like,
take
why
Greenland.
I don't
should
rule it
we,
out. I don't say
dog?
I'm going to do it, but I don't rule out anything. No, not there. We need Greenland very badly.
Again, it's not our fault that you decided to spend way more on the military industrial complex. Like, that's not our problem. What do you say fuck me for? Fuck 50. What do you mean fuck 50? What do you say fuck me for? We had nothing to do with that. What the heck?
Greenland is a very small amount of people, which we'll take care of and we'll cherish them and all of that. But we need that for international security. Do you know we have Russian boats and we have Chinese boats, gunships all over the place, aircraft carriers, gunships, going up and down the coast of Greenland. We need that to be protected.
I don't believe him for even like 3 seconds. That's bullshit, bro.
Internationally, we need it.
So you are willing to send
Bull
U.S.
fucking
troops
shit, dude.
to claim a sovereign territory?
I didn't say that. You asked me a question. Would you? Is there a circumstance? It could happen. I doubt it will, but it certainly could happen with respect to Greenland.
Okay, let me ask you about Iran. Your administration has had conversations with Iran. Is the goal of these talks limiting Iran's nuclear program or total dismantlement?
Total dismantlement.
That's all you'll accept?
Isn't Canada looking to use the Arctic for European trade? I'd have to look into that. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case, to be honest, Boy Meets Minnie. I do think that is probably a thing that will happen. But will it happen? I'm not sure, though. Like, obviously, we would probably like to have that for Arctic trade. Like, without a doubt, it would be very, very beneficial to us because, like, our country encapsulates quite a bit of the Arctic. But I don't really know, honestly. Like, probably. The answer to that question is we probably would, yeah. Like, we probably would see a benefit from significantly in terms of, like, trade routes because, like, a big part of Nunavut, for example, all those islands that are up there, that's all a part of the Arctic Circle.
That's all I'd accept. Now, there's a new theory going out there that Iran would be allowed to have civilian, meaning to make electricity. But I say, they have so much oil, what do they need it for? But, I've seen it with other states where they're looking to do something.
So they can have, like, less fossil fuels, Trump. I know you don't believe in climate change or anything, or really much of anything, but yeah, they're saying that so they don't have to try, so they can try to move away from all their oil. That's why Trump. You know, the thing that you constantly complain about, they used to fund, like, Hamas and Hezbollah and all this other bullshit. Yeah, they're trying to, like, move away from those because of the Paris climate accords, but whatever.
Something, and they have a lot of oil. Iran has tremendous energy. I put sanctions, if you know that. I put pretty strong sanctions on 2 days ago on the oil. The sad part is that if Biden didn't get involved, if we had a competent president, you would have never had the attack on Israel. October 7th would have never taken place. Hamas would have had no money because Iran was broke. And now in a period of 4 years.
Yeah, again, this Iran was broke thing, I think he's talking about how the Biden administration returned a bunch of, I don't know if it was like Iranian gold reserves or something. He returned like a bunch of money to Iran that was like, well, stolen from, that was stolen from them. So,
During the Biden administration, they became very rich. They have over $300 billion cash in the bank. And they had no money. They were ready to make a deal with me. And it's very sad. Because of this rigged election, they didn't do it. Just another thing you can mark down to a bad election.
It's interesting what you're saying, though, because Secretary Rubio has
grievances,
said that he would accept, or the idea is
everyone
there is
hates
an
me,
openness
folks.
to accepting peaceful civil nuclear programs.
Well, that's what people, I didn't say anything contradictory. I said that people are talking about that. And this is something that's really pretty new in the dialogue.
Many people are saying
and
things,
I have to
folks.
be,
Saying
my
stuff.
inclination is to say, what do you need that for? You have a lot of oil.
So you want total dismantlement, bottom line.
I think that I would
because they want the nuclear program so they can move away from fossil fuels, Trump. That's why they want. Okay.
Open to hearing it. Civilian energy it's called. But,
Stupid.
civilian energy often leads
Doesn't
to
believe in climate change.
military wars. And we don't want to have them have a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple deal. I want Iran to be really successful, really great, really fantastic.
Okay, so, like, again, the fucking constant speaking out of both sides of his mouth. If you don't want them to have, like, nuclear energy, but you don't want them to have, like, a nuclear weapon, but you don't want them to, like, use their oil or something in order to get rich to, like, pay off a bunch of, like, different insurgents groups because of a lot of U.S. belligerents. Like, which is it? Which is it?
The only thing they can't have is a nuclear weapon. If they want to be successive, that's okay. I want them to be so successful.
They're guaranteed to get that nuclear weapon because who tore up the JCP away? That was you. That was you. You did that.
The Iranian people are incredible. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon because the world will be destroyed.
They're going to get it.
Just to recap, we're talking about your desire to claim
to get one
Canada,
now because of your
Greenland.
idiocy.
What do you say to people?
You forgot the Panama Canal.
Panama Canal. What do you say to people who say they voted for you because they wanted you to end foreign conflicts, not start new?
I don't see that as conflict. I think that's good for our country, those things. Look, the Panama Canal was taken over by China, effectively. Now China seems to have left, but the Panama Canal...
So then why are you still threatening to try to take it over, dude? Like, this is nonsense. This claim is just, it's just complete, like, he just pulled this out of his ass. Like, China has control of the Panama Canal, and the Panamanians are just like, no, like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what does this mean? We have to take it back. It's nonsense.
Think of this deal. We built the most expensive object we've ever built in the history of our country. That was Mount McKinley. They just took away, I just gave them back the name, but McKinley made the money. Teddy Roosevelt spent the money. McKinley gets very little credit, but he made. You know how he made the money? Through tariffs. He was the big tariff president. Okay, but forget that. We built the Panama Canal. It was the most expensive thing. It would be the equivalent, like almost $2 trillion today. We've never spent it, and it was very successful. And Jimmy Carter gave it away for $1.
Panama insists.
This is the kind of leadership.
Panama says they do control the canal, but we have a couple more questions left, and
Panama said what?
Little wrap.
Panama said what?
Panama says they still control it. I know you're saying China. Panama says they still control it.
If you would have gone there about 5.2 months ago,
yeah.
Every single sign on the Panama Canal, with the exception of about 15% of them, was in Chinese.
Yeah. Let me ask you, because we're nearing the.
I don't even know what this is. He probably thinks it's because of all the ships from China, which serve the U.S. consumer market. That's probably what it is, Boy Meets Minnie.
And just a couple more questions here.
I'm not complaining. You keep saying to me like I'm rushing.
No, you're not, and I really appreciate it.
I don't
really
rush. I don't want to make you nervous.
Thank you. The Trump Organization is selling hats that say Trump 2028.
Yeah.
Are you seriously considering a third term, Mr. President, even though it's prohibited by the Constitution, or is this about staying politically viable?
I will say this. So many people want me to do it. I have never had requests so strong as that. But it's something that, to the best of my knowledge, you're not allowed to do. I don't know if that's constitutional that they're not allowing you to do it or anything else. But
it's called the Supremacy Clause within the Constitution. It's the 22nd Amendment. It's pretty clear. Again, it was a constitutional amendment that was cynically made in order to make it such that FDR couldn't run anymore because he would have just kept mollywopping literally every single candidate. But whatever. He's just Shelley, leftist FDR, got to do it. Well, that's what it is, Boy Meets Minnie. He wants to be a king with no equal. That's purely what it is. That's the attitude.
But there are many people selling the 2028 hat, but this is not something I'm looking to do. I'm looking to have 4 great years and turn it over to somebody.
Yeah, we'll see if that attitude changes
to carry it forward. But I think we're going to have 4 years, and I think 4 years is plenty of time to do something really spectacular.
The Constitution does prohibit it. Some of your allies are pretty serious about this, though, Mr. President. I've spoken to them. They say they are coming up with potential ways.
Well,
obviously, the biggest one will be a constitutional amendment.
That's because they like the job I'm doing, and it's a compliment. It's really a great compliment.
Has anyone approched you, though, with an actual plan, a way to actually start the process
there are
of a
ways of doing it.
amendment?
There are ways of doing it, and you know the same thing. And if you look at...
I like how he's like trying to entertain it, basically, saying like, well, there's ways to do, you could do it. It could happen, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not actually looking to pursue it at all, guys. Like, both sides of his mouth, double
the
speak.
vice presidential thing, and you hear different concepts and different other people say you can have a write-in vote. There's lots of different things. With all of that being said, I want to be a great president. I will have served. Hopefully, everything will go well. I feel.
Meanwhile, he's got like the lowest approval ratings ever. Like,
physical. I took, unlike all other presidents, I took cognitive tests and I aced it. I got 100% correct. And one doctor said, there were numerous doctors watching. And he said, I've never seen that before. Biden didn't take a cognitive. He couldn't have gotten the first question right. But I came out great with the physical, both physically and mentally. And I just want to serve, do a great job. I'll be an 8-year president. I'll be a 2-term president. I always thought that was very important, to be honest with you. If you look at President Polk, he was a 1-termer and he did some great things, actually. A pretty good president. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but there's something about being a 2-term president that was very important to me.
And just to put a button on it, has anyone in an official capacity presented you with, sir, here are some ideas by which...
Well, let's be honest here, Boy Meets Minnie. It's because, like literally every other fascist, they have to be incredibly, insecure, but, very much so in control, but very insecure and paranoid about, challenges to their power at all points in time. We know this. This is, one-to-one shit. We know.
You could actually get a constitutional
amendment.
amendment.
In the capacity of being a big supporter of many people have said different things, but I'm not looking at that.
You haven't had official meetings about it.
No, and just so you understand, 4 years is a long time. I have almost 4 years. All of these things that we've done more than any president, and even you might admit that. Nobody's done the extent of the things that we've done. Nobody's done this in essentially a little bit more than 3 months. As they say, 100 days. I'm looking to do a great job as president and set the country on the right track. Because if I didn't win, this country would have failed. We would have been a failed nation.
You have built a political movement that has transformed the Republican Party. It's transformed the country, quite frankly.
Political movement in history, MAGA. Make America great again.
When you look to the future, Mr. President, do you think the MAGA movement can survive without you as its leader?
Yes, I do.
What gives you...
I think it's so strong, and I think we have tremendous people.
Yeah, I don't believe him, by the way. There's no fucking way, bro. Nah, that's cap, bro. There's no way Make America Great Again is going to be able to survive without Trump. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for even 1 second.
I think we have a tremendous group of people. We talked about a number of them. You look at Marco, you look at J.D. Vance, who's fantastic. You look at, I could name 10, 15, 20 people.
Nobody likes J.D.
No, I think we have a tremendous party. And you know what I can't name? I can't name one Democrat. I mean, I look at the Democrats, they're in total disarray. They have a new person named Crockett. I watched her speak the other day. She's definitely a low IQ person. And they said, she's the future of the party. I said, you have to be kidding. I don't know what
She's
they're
the
gonna
like
do.
you because
And I
she
really
makes
believe in a
fun of
two-party system.
me.
Because it's good to be challenged. It's really good to have a two-party. You know, it's good. Being challenged is okay. It keeps you sharp. I don't know what they're going to do. They have nobody. Bernie's 87 years old or something. And you know, Biden is the worst thing that ever happened to old people because he was grossly incompetent. And I think maybe for artificial reasons. You know, he had operations, something. So maybe that's an artificial. But I know people that are unbelievably sharp and they're older than 87. But I watch Bernie Sanders. He's a nut job, but he's still sharp. He's sharp as he's the same guy he was. He hasn't gone down. But Biden is really, he's the worst thing to happen.
God, the thing is it's so funny because the Democrats are such stupid, sniveling, petulant morons. God, fucking literally Bernie would have cleaned this man's clock, and he knows that his ass would have gone absolutely destroyed by Bernard Sanders, dude. But, you know, thank you, Democrats, for fucking it all up for everyone, as always. You worthless, sniveling cowards.
Old people.
I know that you are only 100 days in, but as we sit here today, who do you see as your successor, Mr. President?
Well, it's far too early to say that, but you know, I do have a vice president, and typically it would be, and JD's doing a fantastic job.
He would be at the top of the list?
It could very well be. I don't want to get involved in that. I think he's a fantastic, brilliant guy. Marco is great. There's a lot of them that are great. I also see tremendous unity.
Marco.
Certainly would say that somebody's the VP. If that person is outstanding, I guess that person would have an advantage. But I think the other people would all stay in unbelievably high positions. But, you know, it could be challenged by somebody. We have a lot of good people in this party.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories.
They talked about a new deal.
All right, that was a very, very sudden cutoff. Thank you. Very cool. Thank you, NBC. You know, as expected from Trump, that was about as ridiculous and insane as always. I don't know, man. It's getting worse and worse, dude. That's just like... I don't really know what else like it's supposed to be said there. He, again, lied constantly. He was wrong about basically everything. What else is supposed to be said? Like, the only way I think like people are going to be like snapping out of this fucking bullshit is if like again, people really get hit with the results of these tariffs in the like, you know, they get smacked real hard in the face. Like, that's the only way that anyone's going to ever change their positions on any of this stuff. We, broadly speaking, know this. We've talked about this before. For people to recognize that, you know, Trump is a belligerent who doesn't care about them, well, they have to get, like, hit in the face with it, like, pretty blatantly and pretty clearly. And, I mean, when we start to see all of the complete, like, nonsense conjecture and bullshit that's happening because of the tariffs, which, like, I mean, broadly speaking, we're already seeing the results of already beginning to play out. Like, ports being empty, a lot of, like, goods are just not being able to come through. We're seeing a lot of the results beginning to play out. Like, there's supplies for now, but soon there's going to be a lot of stories of shelves being emptied if Trump doesn't find a deal and work something out in, you know, whatever way he tries to work anything out. If, you know, this doesn't happen, like, the U.S. is going to be in for, like, I must say, probably quite a few rough months. But, you know, we'll just have to wait and see what exactly happens. I don't know, dude. It's just going to get real silly. I'll be honest. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. If anything, like, goofy and ridiculous occurs, like, we'll probably be the first to see the sort of consequences of, like, Donald Trump's actions on tariffs and everything, because that's eventually going to start playing out sooner rather than later. But just gotta wait and see is all we can really do here right now.